Hey everyone, this is George Moore. I wanted to put together a short video on troubleshooting the Jazz 2 with the Cutie frame or the Cutie Breeze frame. And if you're having issues with, let's say, nesting under the fabric, I found a couple tricks that will help you with it, because truly you wonder why some people really love the Jazz and how they work with it all the time, and others not so much. And really it has to do with a couple key points on threading. And I even found it myself. If I'm not paying attention, oh goodness, look what happens. So let's take a couple minutes and look at what I've discovered. So what I've got here is I started stitching and wondering what's that sound, and I noticed it was looping on top, and then I rethreaded the proper way, and I'm going to show you the differences what I did. And it stitched fine. So there's no difference other than that. So let's look at what we have on the bottom. And on the bottom here, we've got all kinds of, I don't know if you can see that there, we'll look closer. Look at that, okay? All kinds of thread nesting on the bottom. And I even adjusted my tension as tight as can be, and that's what I got. Where this one, let me move this over so I can peel it over here. This one is fine. No different. I even lowered the tension to a 5. Okay, what is the difference? How is that different between one and the next? Same machine, same thread. It all has to do with threading, and so let me show you what I did. First, and very important, is that you thread with your foot up, not down. The reason is when you raise and lower the foot, so when I raise it, this is released, and so I can properly thread the thread through the tension. When I lower it, it's tightened up, and what will happen is when you thread it, it will not go into the tension, and that would give you the problem with nesting. The other thing, make sure when you go to sew, you put the foot down. It's so often I have forgotten myself, and then it loops underneath because you did not see. Now up it's released, down it's tight. So if the foot is up, then all you're going to do is get tension. And on a quilt, sometimes it's hard to tell if the foot is down or not. So make a determination to double check that. Now, another important thing is to use good, smooth, I recommend polyester thread. Now, this is embroidery thread I'm using. I don't recommend that, but it's what I grabbed, but this will work fine. What I don't recommend is some of your cottons, those rough cottons that you find obviously at a very good bargain. If you can feel roughness on the thread, then that's what is going through the tension, and that's going to affect your stitches. So I do prefer a good polyester thread when quilting. So when I take my thread spool, it's important that it's securely on here, and you want to use the cap that is just slightly, it's actually small in this case because this is designed to be tapered. There's actually a smaller cap I like for this, but if it's a traditional spool, it needs to be the larger cap. Now when I thread this, I want you to look in here, look on the side here, and it has it where you just put it through one slot. What I like to do is I like coming through one way and then coming around again. And that's going to form a loop, and that's going to be properly, it's going to hold in better. So if I look at this, if I look down there, it actually has a loop around there, and that's going to hold better. Now the next thing is important to get under here. So the thread will come under this little spring guide. So I'm going to come through here and then down and around here. So you can see it's under here, around there. Now this is where most people make a mistake. Again, we want to have the foot up, but most people, by mistake, they go on the left side of this guide. Actually, it's, and I'm going to hold on to this, I want to come on the right side. I'm coming down to the right of this, and that's so important. If you don't do that, then it won't give you the proper placement into the tension, and that's probably the #1 mistake right there. I even wedged that down in there. Now, with the foot up, I put this down into the tension. Remember, I released the tension down here because of the foot, and then come underneath here. Now, here is a good test. This with the foot up, at this point, With the foot up, I'm pulling it. I went around that nose and up on top. I'm about ready to go into this little guide. With the foot up, it pulls freely. That feels free. But when I put the foot down, I feel it tight. That means I have it in the tension properly. If it feels the same, there's no difference, then go back and rethread it. Now I can continue on and thread the machine, and it will work wonderfully, because that's what the whole thing is the proper threading is going to make all the difference. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't have to rethread this. We're working with quilting, and thread a lot of times just curls around. Double check that it stays in here, because as soon as it pulls out of this, that's when you hear that, because it is coming out of the tension. So when you're quilting, even on long arms, you're constantly checking your threading. You're constantly checking hearing the sounds and stuff like that, because you are in control of all those factors. Now that I have it threaded the way I showed you, let's give it a try. And we'll go ahead and start quilting across the top of the quilt. And it's important that you move consistently. Another problem is when people run the machine too slow and move the fabric too fast. I'm keeping a consistent speed and moving it consistently. If you don't do that, that's going to be another way that the thread's going to get snagged and pulled below. So that's another troubleshooting video that you might see in the future here. But let's take a look at how we did. Just playing around with the little movements here. Not really trying to do anything so spectacular. Wow, look how good that is. I mean, I say that because the stitches are beautiful. And they were so off just by the different threading. So let's take a closer look. See how nice those are. And again, I did nothing different. Nothing different. Well, look at the front. When I got the nesting, other than thread it wrong. So that is the difference. I hope this helped you, and that this will take you through that learning curve of understanding the threading on the Jazz 2, so that you can discover how wonderful this machine is and start quilting quilt after quilt after quilt. Bye for now.